Hello everyone, and welcome to another edition of the SimNFL show. Real talk about fake sports. I am your host and commissioner, you can call me Pierce. Today we are covering the final week of the 2027 preseason over at SimSN. If you're unfamiliar, come check us out on the website and on Discord. We would love to have you. So again, it's week 3, the last preseason week, and we're going to cover the scoreboard for all 16 games. We'll do a quick injury update, and then we have 2 features tonight. The first, we're going to look at some veteran names that could be on the chopping block as franchises get down to their active roster limits in preparation for the regular season in a couple weeks. And then finally, I will make my final playoff predictions for the 2027 season for both conferences, so stick around for that. Let's go ahead and dive right in. So in this final preseason week, it was mostly backups and rookies playing, but we'll cover everything. Washington beat Detroit 22-0. Detroit cornerback Whitney Robinson had a couple pass breakups and forced a fumble. Washington's William Stevens had 2 pass breakups and 2 interceptions for the Commanders. Cleveland beat the LA Chargers 34-20. Roy Clark had 117 rushing yards for the Browns on 16 carries. Chargers quarterback Alcides Holden was 15 of 39 for 152 yards. Did throw 1 pick, but had 59 rushing yards and a rushing touchdown. Cincinnati beat Chicago 35-13. Bengals played Hiram Morant, who was 8 of 9 for 56 yards, but had 20 carries for 173 rushing yards and 3 rushing touchdowns in the win. Bears defensive end Justin Blackley had 3 tackles for loss, including 1.5 sacks, also had a forced fumble and a fumble recovery. The Rams beat Baltimore 37-10. Brandon Savage for the Ravens was 23 of 48, 303 passing yards, 1 touchdown. He did throw 6 interceptions on the day against the Rams starting secondary. Rams Philip Avila was 34 of 50, 312 yards, and 3 touchdowns. Buffalo beat Philadelphia 32-3. Buffalo's quarterback Zonin Reed was 25 of 43, 191 passing yards and 3 touchdowns. The Eagles played Andrew Moncrief, who was 19 of 35, 164 passing yards with 2 picks. The Giants beat Jacksonville 40-6. Giants standout linebacker Anthony Rizzi had 2.5 tackles for loss, including half a sack, also a pass breakup and 2 interceptions. So Rizzi was all over the field for the Giants. For the Jaguars, running back Philippe Johnson, 14 carries for 82 yards and another 8 catches for 61 yards. Atlanta beat Miami 48-3. Miami's defensive tackle George Stammen had 5 tackles for loss and forced a fumble. Meanwhile, for the Falcons, their outside linebacker David Brown Jr. had 3 sacks. And Tampa Bay beat New England 21-13. Bucs quarterback Travis Kingery was playing 19 of 26, 183 passing yards, a touchdown, a pick, and 47 rushing yards with a score and a fumble as well. New England also played their young quarterback Michael Oliveros. He was 9 of 22, 91 passing yards, also added 77 rushing yards and a rushing touchdown. Continuing with the scoreboard, Tennessee beat Carolina 22-10. Tennessee's fullback Daniel Johns, the rookie, was 13 carries, 145 rushing yards against the Panther backups. For the Panthers, Theo Scribner was 22 of 36, 219 passing yards, 1 touchdown, and 2 interceptions before he left with a minor injury. Seattle beat Vegas 28-10. Seattle running back John Roberts had 21 carries for 244 yards and 4 rushing touchdowns. Meanwhile, on the Vegas side, free safety Caleb Allen had 2 interceptions for the Silver and Black. Pittsburgh beat San Francisco 30-13. Quarterback Scott Romero was 21 of 54 for the 49ers, 224 yards, a touchdown, and 2 picks. Pittsburgh cornerback Matt Corbin had a great day with 5 pass breakups and an interception. Green Bay blanked the Jets 42-0. Green Bay's rookie wide receiver Gregory Green had 10 catches for 85 yards and a couple scores. On the Jets side, Jameel Webster, their strong safety, had 4 pass breakups on the day. Denver beat Houston 41-13. Rookie quarterback Cooper Williams was 15 of 23, 107 passing yards and a passing touchdown. Also had a rushing touchdown and 90 rushing yards on 14 carries. For Houston, defensive end Weston Steelhammer had 2.5 sacks. Indianapolis beat Kansas City 19-9. Indianapolis rookie defensive end Miles Chowdhury had 3 tackles for loss and a sack. And then the Chiefs defensive end Mitch Rivers had 3.5 tackles for loss and 2 sacks. Dallas beat Arizona 45-0. Vladimir Dawson had 68 yards on 18 carries, but did cross the goal line 4 times for the Cowboys. And then Arizona's Xavier Gibson, the outside linebacker, had 2 tackles for loss and 2 picks. Finally, Minnesota beat New Orleans 21-12. Minnesota's running back Josh Jackson, 17 carries, 140 rushing yards, and 3 touchdowns. They also had a standout on defense with Xavier Wheeler, the linebacker, who had 6 tackles for loss, including 4 sacks. Meanwhile, for New Orleans, Dwayne DePaula had 5 tackles for loss and 1 sack. So that does it for the Week 3 scoreboard. As for the injury report, a couple of new names to add here. As you mentioned, Theo Scribner separated his shoulder. He will miss a week. We will see if that gets counted, if week 0 gets counted as a week, or if it just skips forward. So not sure if he'll be ready for the regular season or not, but he would just be backing up Dakota Link. And then for the Cardinals, Omarius Beasley dislocated his thumb. He'll miss a couple weeks. So yeah, still tracking all these injuries, but just a couple new ones in a relatively safe week 3 of the preseason. So our first of 2 features tonight, we're going to talk about a couple of veteran players, familiar names and familiar teams who could find themselves possibly on the chopping block due to a combination of regression as far as their overall and then cost as well. A lot of these veterans, signing really back-laden contracts, and teams could get out of that to save some money, even if it's not the last year. So we'll look at a couple possible examples, not at all of them. But some examples, Cincinnati's running back David Taylor is now a 70 overall at age 32. He's making $9 million each of the next 2 years, $4 million bonus, 5 in salary. So Cincinnati could save $1 million this year by cutting him. So just again, to recap, if you cut someone, you pay all of their remaining bonus in this and all future years, but you save the salary next year, or you save the salary this year, and then after that, the player's gone, so of course you're saving everything in the next couple of years. So in this case, for Taylor, Cincinnati would pay $9 million to have him on the roster, but they could also take the $8 million hit and cut him. So they would save $1 million this year. And then you'll notice I've given 2 numbers for next year. $9 million is his full cost next year. So bottom line, they would save $9 million. But really, whether you cut him this year or next year, that salary goes away anyway. So the real difference is the next year bonus, which we can front load. So technically, they'd save $9 million next year. The real difference is the $4 million in bonus that they pay this year instead of next. So that's why I've listed both numbers there. There's the total savings next year, and then the de facto savings cutting him this year versus next year, which is the bonus amounts. Though some couple reasons they might want to keep him around. One, plenty of cap space this year. Well over $28 million still. So one's not going to make too much of a difference. And then the backups, they do have a couple of young backups, including rookie Michael March-Lilliard, but he is 10 points below that. So Taylor might still get a chance to play. Taylor last year had over 800 yards on over 200 carries and 9 touchdowns. Solid year. Less solid when you consider that the year before that he had 2,400 yards and 17 touchdowns. So the regression has hit him hard. But again, he might still be their best option, and with still money to go through, might still see him on the roster this year. Another name to talk about is Cleveland's linebacker Luis Dell. Has been a stalwart in the middle of that defense, former Pro Bowler. He's now 73 overall at age 33. He's making $10 million this year, only $3 million guaranteed, and he's under contract for it next year as well, but with a similar salary-heavy deal. So Cleveland could save $4 million this year, $3 million in bonus next year, and his full contract is $11.5 million next year. And Cleveland is right up against the cap right now with just about $1.5 million in space, so that would save them from some money. Dell had 20 plus tackles for loss in 2 previous seasons. but then 8.5 total in 25 and 26 combined. So he has seen some drop off in production. Backup is 5 points worse, but the backup lacks in football IQ, where Dell excels. They do have better speed, strength, run defense, and tackling. So it could be a competition there, or the Browns could cut Dell to save some money and move that guy up on the depth chart. So still to be seen. One I think is a little more clear cut is Dallas's tackle Neil Hankins. He's 33. He's now 66 overall due to regressions. Cowboys could save $3 million this year and $4 million of bonus next year, and they are right up against the cap, even closer than the Browns. So a little bit of savings could go a long way. And honestly, Hankins probably not going to play. He's currently their 5th best tackle by overall. So again, whatever you're getting in experience, I think you're losing in the other basic mechanics. Probably time for Hankins to be asked to pursue excellence elsewhere or potentially hang up his cleats. No knock on him. Time comes for us all. Anyway, Dallas also has an opportunity with Edwin Chabala at your boy. I do love saying that name, but he is a 74 overall at age 32. They could save just over $3 million by cutting him now, and then another $3 million in bonus for a total of almost 10 next year. Again, right up against the cap, so a saving move might be in order. Chabala is now their 4th best wide receiver by overall. Again, higher in experience and IQ, less so in other areas that have seen bigger regressions. And then last year, after having multiple 1,000-yard seasons, he got just under 600 receiving yards and just 3 touchdowns last year. So he had already kind of been lapped by a couple younger players, and now with more extensive regression, could be someone who finds himself a free agent at season's opening. Also want to talk about Matthew 1T Madden with the Giants, 75 overall at age 33. Now this is interesting. This one would actually cost the Giants because of the way his contract is settled. It's slightly more bonus than salary, and it's 2 years. So this would actually cost the team $1 million versus what they're paying him now to cut him now. But it would save him $6 million in bonus next year, a total of 11. And they have a little bit of cap space to work with, just under $10 million. So they'd be able to take that hit and save them a big chunk next year. Now, Madden is their highest overall wide receiver. He's a 75 compared to a 74 and a 72. But he only had 8 catches last year. So he was effectively, he's not actually at the top of their depth chart, and he wasn't last year. So again, if you're not going to play him, and I see why you wouldn't, no need to pay him. So could see that paying $1 million next year to save a bunch of money next year. And then finally, I did mention William Stevens earlier. He had a very good preseason game, so he may have just saved his job. He's a 72 overall at age 34. The Commanders could save a couple million this year, and he's due a total of $13 million next year, $5.5 million of which is bonus. So it would be a big savings if they were able to move him now, compared to just $2.5 million in cap space, which they have currently. Again, he's their 3rd highest cornerback by overall. He's competing for that nickelback position with a guy who's 10 years his junior. And then Stevens last year played in over 500 snaps, had only 2 pass breakups. Now, again, he did just have a couple breakups and a couple picks in preseason, so like I said, he may have saved his job. But you're talking about nickelback at best. I don't know if, that's a guy you pay $10 million for, especially compared to someone on a rookie salary. But we shall see. But yeah, these are a couple names that might be familiar to you if you follow the league, but that maybe their time has come due to regression or cost or both, might find themselves without a job due to the business of football, as rosters get cut down over the next week and a half as we prepare for opening. So now I want to talk about who I think are going to make the playoffs from both conferences. I'm going to put myself out there, make the predictions, probably look ridiculous very soon. But I've looked at preseason results, some eye tests, looked at my team rankings, and here is what I'm going to go with. For the AFC, no big surprise here. Miami has the top roster for both offense and defense in the entire league. I think they're a lock for the playoffs and an easy pick for number one in the conference. Especially, they were number one last year, but have still been second fiddle to Denver when it comes to the playoffs. I think this is their chance to break through and represent the AFC in the Simple Six. Behind them, I have Kansas City. Kansas City has a top 5 rated offense and defense. They have multiple positions where they have the best or one of the best players in the league, including defensive end with Chad Bruce, wide receiver with Daniel Ellswick, quarterback with David Chop. So a lot to like about this Kansas City team. I think they are in a great position to potentially take their first division title and make a deep push into the playoffs. Jacksonville is a team that originally surprised me in my player ratings. They were listed top 10 in overall talent, both offense and defense combined. I think if they can get some consistent quarterback play with James Rivera and allow the rest of that team to shine. Obviously, they're in a tough position regarding Hucon going down with injury. And basically, they're already on their third tier running back. They just traded for Juan Mora to see if he can give them a spark. But the way Philippe Johnson has already played in front of that offensive line, I think gives hope that you can get really good production out of that position. Mora is already 3 years past his prime, but still commands a lot of respect after the seasons that he had in Cleveland. So I think Jacksonville has enough to work with, and I think they can make some things happen in that AFC South, potentially winning the division and getting into the playoffs. And in the North, I have the Pittsburgh Steelers taking it. They have the best rated offense and defense of the 4 teams in the North. That may not be saying as much. And I don't know how seriously to take Smackums when he talks about not believing in Robert Morris as the starter. Morris is in, I think, year 2 of a 3-year extension. But I think, and Pittsburgh did trade Christoph Leatherman off of that great defensive line. So there are some questions, there are some holes. I think there are enough key pieces there to carry Pittsburgh to a second consecutive division title. It may only be the 4 seed, but it would still be enough to get them into the playoffs. On the wildcard side, I think the LA Chargers are primed for a deep run. They look great. They have a top 5 offense rated. I know Dean talks about Aguilera not being able to throw the ball deep. I don't think he needs to. With him and Harrison Rodriguez and Edwin Garcia, I think they are ready to put up a lot of points, ready to make a stink in the AFC. I think they could be in quite a race against Kansas City. That whole division is still an absolute buzzsaw, so I don't think any wins are guaranteed there. But between the rest of their schedule and their talent, I think they've can easily string together double-digit wins and get the best wildcard seed, and maybe even be a favorite playing as a road playoff game. Also want to call out the New York Jets, who I think have the sufficient talent and coaching to make it into the playoffs. They have a top 10 offense according to my rankings, and I think with Jeremiah West slinging it and some very, very talented young wide receivers, I think they have an offense that's not only just going to be good now, but could be good and very, very good for years to come, and that should carry them to some wins, even in the same division as the Miami Dolphins, even chalking up a couple losses there, which is also not guaranteed after the stuff we saw last year. But I think the Jets, again, will be favored against a lot of other teams and can put together an impressive resume and make their way into the playoffs. And for the last wildcard spot, I moved around a lot on this, but ultimately, because I haven't taken too many chances yet, I'm going to go out and say that the Houston Texans make their first playoff. I was very impressed with Travis Neeble in some of his games last season. Again, I've been talking about consistency. If he can turn some of his best games into a more routine performance, he's got better tools on the offense. He's continuing to develop. I like what he's bringing to the team, and I think, the AFC South, it's not guaranteed. You've got Jacksonville. I have them winning the division. You've got Tennessee, who continues to defy all explanation and has an incredible running attack now with Daniel Jones and Mitchell Reynolds. It's not the easiest of easy schedules, but again, I think Houston has the talent and the opportunity to make their first playoff trip and send 2 teams from the AFC South. Some teams that would be out, there's a long list. There's a real, I think, log jam right in the middle of the conference, and it could be a fight to get these playoff spots. You've got Vegas, Cleveland, Buffalo, and Denver, who I think could all contend. Again, AFC West is absolutely loaded. I think that's the biggest thing against the Vegas Raiders. And also maybe any questions about Ray Scott. Denver, it depends on Cooper Williams, but I think they're absolutely going to get the best out of him, and he's in a good overall position to succeed. Cleveland is improving. I don't know if they're improving fast enough, and if they're at a level where they can compete with everybody else. And Buffalo, Asensio can really sling it. He took a big step forward. I think they're a little one-dimensional on offense, and I don't know about defense. So there's questions throughout, and of course there's the teams they'd be in a division with. Vegas or Denver would be the 3rd team from the West. Buffalo would be the 3rd team from the East. So when you've already got multiple playoff teams in there, that's a tough sell. That's some tough games to play. Even when you've got, I think Vegas could benefit. I think they're going to have a 4th place schedule, even though they won as many games as they did last year. So that could be a benefit. There's a lot of maybes and ifs, and I'm not sure. Again, I think any of these teams could compete for it. I'll leave them on the bubble in the AFC in what could be a very tough and very exciting playoff race. As far as the NFC, again, no surprise at the top. Carolina is second only to Miami, both on offense and defense. They've built an absolutely killer squad, including, and led by Dakota Link and that great passing attack. I think they are absolutely the favorite and have the inside track to take the top seed in the NFC. Detroit, I think, is phenomenal. I think Randall Hansen is very much underrated. I think Carolina should feel nervous seeing Detroit rated this highly after they knocked them out of the playoffs last year. But yeah, on paper, top 10 offense, top 5 defense, great offensive and defensive lines, and some phenomenal drafts these last 2 years, producing guys like Tremaine Craig, who's contributing right away. A lot to like for the Lions as they compete in the NFC. And then Dallas is right up there as well, going all in, acquiring Peter London. I am surprised at how much they're using London as a pure passer, when he was much more of a hybrid, quarterback in Denver, but can't argue with his completion percentage so far. Dallas, top 5 offense, also top 10 defense by overalls. So, again, a lot of ammunition there, and I think should have a great season. And I have them winning the East. And then the LA Rams, this is the one I'm flying most in the face of my ratings. My ratings did not like the Rams. It had them outside the top 10 for offense and in the bottom half in defense. I just can't fathom Philip Avila not throwing for a bajillion yards, especially when he's got, his top 2 wide receivers still. So I have to give it to that very prolific offense, even if they're, the 4 seed, even if they're the worst division champion, I still have them winning the West. We'll see if, my gut and my eye test are better than the numbers, or if I should have listened to my analysis. Right now, I still have them winning that division. The top wild card I have going to Green Bay. Green Bay coming off, multiple NFC North championships. Even if they get surpassed by the Lions, they're a very good team. Top 10, both offense and defense. Absolutely stacked. I think Garibay plays well above his overall numbers, as do guys like Walter and Wachukwu. So yeah, a lot to like there. I think they, even if they don't match Detroit, I think they'll give them a run for their money and have a very good season. Also, not counting out Washington, even if they don't win the NFC East for what would be the very first time. They're 5-time champions. Even Denver can't hang that banner. Denver has 5 conference championships, so the banners are better, but you know what I mean. Washington has won their division every year. Even if they don't this year, they still got a top 10 offense and a pretty good defense. fighting against the rigors of time as they do, I think they can still very much be a playoff team and a dangerous one. And then finally, I do have Seattle breaking through after 2 excruciating years where they got so close and weren't able to make it. I think this is the year they break through. They've got an incredible defense led by an absolutely amazing linebacking core who I think could thrive in this these new engine tweaks that we've put in over the offseason. So I think the defense could really carry them. I'm not entirely convinced on Kamoko Allard, but we'll see what he does with it. I do think Seattle has what it takes to finally break through that ceiling and get their first franchise playoff berth. And then just on the outsides, Minnesota also looking for their first. I think Christian Sunak is going to benefit greatly from having a true number 1 wide receiver in James Blank. I think he will be much improved. I don't know if it'll be enough to break into their first playoff, especially with the wild cards looking as they are now, and with, again, a division in both Detroit, sharing a division with both Detroit and Green Bay. I think that could be a tall order. I am excited to see them play. I think there could be a lot of fun games there in the North. And then Philadelphia, I think they've, have a better sense of their offense. They talked about an experiment they tried last year that really didn't work, and then they were kind of stuck with for a while. So I think they've sorted that out. They're still an incredible drafting team. So I think they will compete for a spot. I think they'll make things tough for Dallas and Washington. I don't have them making it in there, but they could very well be in the hunt up to the last few weeks. So those are my predictions for the playoff teams for both conferences. Please let me know what you think. Sound off in the comments with your predictions, especially those that are most different from mine. I would love to hear them. And I totally won't talk about them on the Week 1 show. That is everything I have for this edition of the SimNFL show. Thank you so much for watching. We will be off next week as college football kicks off with Week 0. We'll be taking a short break for SimNFL, but that'll be our last break before we get into the regular season. So 18 weeks of that, plus playoffs. Will be a lot of coverage of the SimNFL every single week as we dive into the regular season for 2027. Hope you will come back and see us for all of those episodes and continue to watch our podcast as well. But I'm going to sign off for now. And as I say to all users in all of our sims, good luck and have fun.